Hi, I'm here on the Temple Mount, and today I'm going to tell you the story of the Hannuka of the prophets Haggai and Zechariah. This Hannuka story happened many years before the Hannuka story that we know and we celebrate every year. But it's a Hannuka story. It all starts with exile, with the Babylonian exile. The Babylonians conquered Israel, and the Jews were taken to exile. It was very difficult. They had to walk for many months in deserts, with difficulties. They were extremely sad about the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple. They cried all the way to Babylon, and they cried when they got there. They sat near the rivers of Babylon, and they cried and cried about the destruction of Zion. But as years went on, they had to get used to the new situation, and gradually they found work, they built houses, and they rebuilt their lives there in Babylon. But still, they prayed to come back to Jerusalem, to come back and rebuild the temple. And God heard their prayers and answered them. And what happened is that suddenly the Persians came and conquered Babylon about 50 years after they were there in exile. They conquered, and Koresh, the first Persian king, said to the Jews, "Listen, I'm allowing you to go back to Jerusalem." He gave them all the vessels of the temple that the Babylonians took and were in the palace. He gave them money, and he said, "Go ahead, go back to Jerusalem, go back and build your temple." The Jews were thrilled, and 42,000 Jews, decided to leave everything and go back to Israel and to Jerusalem. Many other Jews stayed there. There were old people that couldn't really walk for so many months. There were families with little kids that felt it was impossible for them. There were people that already had a very good job and big houses, and they didn't want to leave it all behind. So many Jews stayed there. But they donated a lot of money and gave it to the Jews who came back here. The Jews, with their leader Zerubbabel and Yehoshua ben Yotzadak, the high priest, walked for many months. It wasn't easy. There were robbers along the way. It was hot. It was difficult. But they walked, and they came back here. It wasn't easy to come back here. The place was destroyed. Jerusalem, everything was destroyed here. Everything was in destruction. There was nowhere to live. It was very difficult. But still, they started building their houses. They started, and very soon after they came towards Rosh Hashanah, they built an altar here on the Temple Mount where it should stand. And even though there was no temple, they started sacrificing all the sacrifices of the holidays and continues with the sacrifices. Life was not easy here. The non-Jewish people who lived around were enemies, and there were many security problems. Also, there was a drought, and there was no water. There's no rain, no water to drink. There was famine because nothing grew, and people were very hungry. Some of them died. It was very difficult life here. People were very poor. And at the beginning, they wanted to build a temple. They even started, but the enemies around here did not want them to build, and they tried to scare them and stop them. And when they saw it didn't work, they actually sent a letter to Persia, and they told the kings there that the Jews want to build a temple not because they want to worship God, but because they want to rebel against the Persians. So, which was not true. But the Persians heard, and they said that their Jews are not allowed to build a temple. For 18 years, this continued. Life was very difficult here. And then Haggai and Zechariah, 2 prophets, came and brought the word of God. And they told the Jews, listen, all these problems, all the security problems, all the drought, everything, all the difficulties are because of one reason, because you're not building the temple. God is angry with you. It's difficult, yes, but you all built your own houses, you're going to your own houses. So what about the house of God? What about the temple here? You don't have to build a very big and very golden building. Just bring wood, build a simple temple, but build, go ahead. And when you build it, you'll see that there will be blessings here and all the troubles will stop, but start. There were actually no permits from the Persians to build, but Haggai and Zechariah tell the people, listen, you go ahead and build without permits. Start building, the permits will come. And they started. And eventually the permits did come. And they built and they listened and they built. And when the day that they started to build was the 24th of Kislev. Kafdalet Kislev, they started and they actually started the building either on the 24th or the 25th, and that's the Hannuka holiday. That's when they started building happily, and God and Haggai the prophet tells them, listen, remember this date, the 24th of Kislev, because you will see that from this day on the drought will stop. There will be water, there will be rain, and eventually in a few months you'll see that there's again food to eat, because the things in the fields will grow. So yeah, remember this date, it's important. And actually that's what happened. All the trouble stopped, the Jews built and the permits came and they finished building after 4 years and celebrated. And they were very happy here, and actually there was a lot of blessings. Zechariah also speaks about that temple, the second temple, and also tells us about the third temple that also will bring even more blessing to the world. Our sages put these books of Haggai and Zechariah in the Bible to let us remember that this story happened not only then, but these prophecies were not only for those days, but also for our days. We have, just as those Jews, we have to listen to the prophets, to listen to the word of God, and start building, start doing things, coming here and preparing for the temple. And may we soon have the temple here, and the blessings and peace and happiness will come to the world. Just as God promised us in the book of Zechariah. So on this same date, many years later, the Maccabees conquered back the temple from the Greeks and started, purified the temple and started the worship in the temple again. May we soon also be able to start the worshiping on the third temple, and as soon as possible, and have the full redemption come to us and to the whole world. And have a happy Hanukkah, and remember that there were many stories on this day.